Happy Monday. Welcome back to Faith Family Focus. I am one of your co-hosts, Faith Starks, former Duke women's basketball graduate, social media and marketing manager for SIG Sports, and also entrepreneur and CEO of Brand by Faith. So dedicated telling stories of our clients. This wonderful man next to me is my father, Schaefer Suggs, former NFL player with the New York Jets and the Cincinnati Bengals, and has also served as VP and on the executive board for the RPFPC, also known as the NFLPA Chicago chapter. Good morning, Dad. How are you?
Good morning, Faith Suggs.
Let me take a sip before. I know why you're happy today, and why you're dressed the way you are.
Everybody knows why I'm happy. The big upset against the Buffalo Bills.
It was a big upset with the Buffalo Bills. I don't know what happened. I only saw the score happening, but I do know something. That's an upset.
It was an upset.
Talking about 2 weeks ago about the Jets, and we were talking about the Bills and why the Bills. You said the Bills might be your favorite.
You know what? It's getting really interesting before we get into the show, but you look at the teams that were traditionally powered, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Packers, those teams are struggling. And it's really nice to see new teams. You see the Vikings are playing well, but the Jets, I mean, even after last week, after Zach Wilson had that really bad, horrific game with the 3 interceptions, he came back and he played within himself. And then they got a big win. You know, they had suffered some significant losses with their running back, but they got a new number 23 running back that is obviously going to give them some good luck. And he played really, really well. But I'm really happy. Some big wins. Yale had a big win this weekend. Notre Dame had a phenomenal win this weekend over Clemson. That was amazing. So a great week for football. Looking forward to the next couple of weeks.
As we head into
with the Ivy, so Yale beats Princeton. You know, they'll be playing for the Ivy League championship. So that's going to be something I'm looking forward to. And then, of course, and then basketball season started. But there's so much we want to talk about. But, you know, the one thing we'll talk about today, our biggest topic is gratitude. I know we'll get into that, but I just wanted to just kind of, you opened the door to how happy I am about football, how my teams are doing. And I think you can already by my excitement. So
absolutely. And I'm going to pull up the standings for us for the NFL because I think that we all want to see kind of the dynamic here.
I get my lighting here. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the AFC East, and I'm going to pull up their stuff first in 1 second. Let me just grab it so it's a little clear for us. Blurry. But you know who's second? Who's second in the AFC East? I'll show you in a second. But who do you think?
Well, you got the Jets.
The Jets.
The Jets, yeah. There we go. Much better lighting. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting dynamic going on in the NFL, and you said it best. And I'm looking at. Let me pull up the East. Here it is. All right, Buffalo Bills are 1, New York Jets 2, Miami Dolphins. Interesting. They were a favorite for this upcoming season. And the Patriots, of course, I think they're doing okay. I'm not going to say they're doing terrible because.
Well, you want to never rule out Belichick. Never.
Right.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. So we're halfway through the season. Well, it's 6-3, 6-4. So.
Yeah,
we're 8 games. We got 8 more games left. So 8 more games, 8 more weeks left. So it's going to be interesting to see how this season unfolds. I am excited about this season because there's so much parity in the league. Look at these. I mean, look at the AFC North. You got Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland. Of course, Cincinnati and Cleveland are playing solid football. So. It's going to be exciting. Do you have any more standings there on the?
Yeah, I got the AFC South as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, the game last night, Faith, was just absolutely phenomenal with Patrick Mahomes and how he just rolled that team on his shoulders with being able to come back and with his legs too. You know, some really exciting games. Even the Bears game against the Dolphins. I thought the Bears got a really bad call at the end of the game. That was a pass interference penalty that the officials just right up under their nose. So, but
yep, it's and I'll pop that NFC one up. Well, that's NBA. We'll get to that in a second. NFC right here. I think. Who would have thought about them Jets? Okay, and there's the Cowboys always hanging on, so close to the top, but comfortable enough to not be a target. It's hilarious. They do it every year. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, for a season, because they do it. You know, Cowboys, they're always like right there, and it's just like, why are they always almost there, but never there, but almost there? Okay, so for all the talk and hoopla we have about Tom Brady.
Hoopla.
Hoopla about Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. They won last night in nice fashion, and Tom Brady looked like he was having fun again. Now, he is divorced now, I have to say that, but he is having fun, and I think that happened last week too. That's why I said there's a lot going on right now in this season of Tom Brady's life that we've ever seen before.
You had to throw that narrative in. That was like a huge load when he got up on the podium.
Like, people don't talk about this season of Tom Brady and don't mention that, though.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that is a big, because it talks about so much more than just, marriage and all that. It talks about the transition of athletes and how it's hard to transition from athlete life to human life like that. And it's hard for a lot of guys to retire.
Well, let me ask you this question from your lens, from your dad, and from the day you really understood that my previous career was playing football, and then being around a lot of the former players. Do you notice that transition and how it has how it happens from the time you were a little girl until now? And you've been around former players. You are our social media manager for NFLPA. Do you see that transition being difficult, and do you see how it's happening?
Well, I know that because I'm an athlete myself. In general, I know the transition's hard. And I have these conversations with a lot of, whether it's my teammates or whether it's just overall talking amongst the business and seeing how hard it is for some athletes to retire and either find the next step or even just have those lights shut off. It's funny you talk about the NFL guys because there's a great I Am Athlete episode with Darrelle Revis that we watched together. And he talks about how he was diagnosed with PTSD, and not PTSD from his childhood growing up in, I believe he's from Philly, growing up and seeing crazy things in the inner city. He's talking about PTSD from playing in the NFL and then all of a sudden not playing in the NFL anymore.
Yeah.
And the idea that they wake up every single day really thinking about violence, right? and executing that, because football is one of the most glorified violent sports we have. But waking up and all of a sudden not having that intention to just go knock somebody out, right? Like, that's not their job today. Their job is to go pick up Cheerios at the store. But that stopped, that when those lights turn off, and there's actually a new podcast with Martellus Bennett on The Pivot, and he talks about, he's like, we're the only American sport where we wake up and like everything we do and achieve for it is through violence, through an assertion of aggression. And so it's funny that the transition from NFL to regular society, I think, is significantly more different, especially with mental health, because now you're going from maybe like level 15 to you have to be at level 2, just like that. And that isn't as normal, right? And that's why I see a lot of the guys transition, and a lot of athletes in general transition into coaching, because that's what they know, that's the schedule they know, that's the game they know. And it's easy for them to still get that fulfillment of like and like aggression that they would get in comparison to if they retired and went into investment broking or, just stuff like that. The NFL is a weird transition in that sense, because it is completely polar opposites from when you're an active player to when you're a former player.
Yeah, it is. I know you know, as I said, we did on our show, our PFPC behind the face mask. We did that show when the lights turn off, and you got some really good perspective from some of the former players, and that's the consistent narrative that it is. And the lights don't just dim; they turn off. It's abrupt. and you're not really ready for it. So, to watch Tom Brady go through his transition,
It's hard.
to watch Aaron Rodgers go through his transition, you see it, But we talked about how difficult it is to let that part of your life go. It's hard when that's all you other things, but it's hard. It's hard. The transition is very, very hard, as you well know.
Yeah, that's why it's very important to surround yourself with more than just that while you're playing, so that you're building an identity that's still stable on its own without the sport. And that's nowhere near taught to athletes. So it's very easy to see how the transition can be as abrupt and as overwhelming as it is. Yeah,
it's being taught now more than it has been.
Right.
There's more communication about it, even at the college level, than it were when I played. But simply because we understand, the difficulty in transition, how difficult it is to let that part of our lives go. But when you agree that it's more now because of the stories, right? Of the stories that we hear, right? Mm-hmm.
Open communication, vulnerability, transparency, 100%. Guys communicating to others, more conferences, more opportunities to even tell stories. Yeah, 100%. Okay. I think so there's so many podcasts now, like because there's so many podcasts now, and a lot of these guys are the voices behind the podcast. You see a different side to them that you've never seen before. So it's more relevant now, and it's more open and growing now because of the opportunity to hear the stories, like you said.
Right.
And even everyone's watching Tom Brady's situation, but athletes know what it is. He's struggling to let go of his identity, really, in that at the end of the day, like if you think about Tom Brady's career and who he was before he came to the NFL, still an elite quarterback. He was at the University of Michigan. But the idea that he came in and no one had any hope for his career, and he's been able to withstand and become one of the winningest athletes in the world in history and the NFL, that's hard to let go, right? And because what's the next step? Who do I become next, right? And that's not that's not easy for people to imagine when they're in the moment.
Right.
Yeah, it's quite scary. I can see that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's good. I mean, if you look at sports as a whole, this is a good time of the season because there's so much happening.
Yeah.
Between the World Series, Dusty Baker, congratulations to Dusty Baker and the Houston Astros for his World Series win. It's good to see him. Get African American coach who's been around, has been a legend.
1,000 games.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So
his World Series.
Right.
Awesome.
Right. So congratulations to him. And as we kind of transition into our topic, we're going to talk about this month. This month is a special month, and I was just thinking about this last night when we were talking about it, Faith, about gratitude. And I'd love to maybe have a whole month on possibly let's talk about gratitude, because I think November is a month of gratitude, not only just Thanksgiving, but when you look at some of the things that these athletes look back on their lives and the long journeys, you look at Dusty Baker, and he could probably look back and he could probably talk about gratitude for a long time because of his journey, in the major leagues, he was the manager when the Cubs should have won the World Series, where the one fan reached out and grabbed the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That was, but it's just so, I look at that, it's just so inspiring to see him win that. And, if you know history, he's had a really, really long tenure in the major leagues, and to see him win the World Series is just fascinating. So I know he understands the word of gratitude also.
And that's in those stories, you also think about the gratitude in the process, and this process to have been so close and then it's taken away every single year. When you are working in sports or in something like that, you have an end goal, and everybody has the same end goal, and only one person gets to do it every single year. So to think that someone is around for 3,000 plus games, right, and never achieving, but still continuously working at it, still continuously doing it, still not retiring, right? It goes into the being grateful and addicted to the process, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes people forget that the process is the best part, but if I think if you look back on all like the fun times in your life, think back to the times where you didn't probably win the championship or you didn't win this, but some of your favorite memories are the process or the memories or the how far you got or even just the achievements along the way. I think that is, or even the not the achievements, right? The spaces of adversity. I think his story is so much about the process and not the end goal.
Journey, yeah, his journey, his process. You're right. I'm glad you shared that because as you're saying that, I'm thinking in my own, things, within the sports, we can talk about that. Even the really, how can you be grateful for the adversities that you went through in sports, whether they were the injuries or the losses, and what became of those adversities and what you did with them, Like you can look at and equate that with Dusty Baker, how he never gave up and he just kept on fighting. But
Yeah.
we could both relate to that.
Yeah. I think you don't have to be completely grateful for your adversities, but I think that being welcoming to them, the understanding to that, yeah, that in a way is also a way of giving thanks. Like you don't have to, right? Because it's easy to say, well, you should be thankful for the things you've gone through, and some people are like, well, those things technically did not have to go through, right? Like bad things
Yeah,
happen to
yeah.
people every day. But I think it's the accepting and the welcoming of how just life flows and goes, and I think that is a way for you to be showing gratitude in a way that fits into how you want it to be done. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
How about the gratitude that you now have because you did go through that? What you became because of that adversity, being grateful for that. The actual incident or moment in time was obviously very difficult, but the gratitude that you show and the person that you become as a result of that adversity is something that I think maybe that's what I was trying to say.
No,
Right?
I'm not disagreeing at all. I think that's a good point. Do you think that you can be grateful? Do you think gratitude can come from a place of spite, in motivation for revenge or for like achieving or rising above? Do you think that gratitude can eventually come from those type of spaces? Because I think in a lot of places, adversity does that. Like your first steps after adversity, like whether it's an injury,
Yeah.
like injury specifically, is a lot of times people use spite, they use like motivation, they'll watch what I'm going to do next.
In spite of what happened to me, I'm going to achieve this. In spite of what people say, how they pull me down. Is that what you're trying to say, Faith?
Hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that was something that inspired me as a kid growing up. Is that fueled that fire to want to achieve because there's so many variables out there. There's so many people out there or situations out there that say you can't do it. Even society says, a young African American kid, there's so many things about our society during that time that says you can't do it. So in spite of that, you want, that was my inspiration growing up. So I that resonates with me so powerfully, So I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, as I was thinking about that.
Yeah, because I think that's what I was trying to say in the sense like gratitude can be molded into whatever you want it to be. I think it's easy for us to look back and think like gratitude, like, well, I'm grateful for life and I'm grateful for today, tomorrow, and yesterday. But like gratitude for me, I think is more in the process. I keep saying that, but like more in like the living through. Because you know what? Sometimes you don't even realize you should be grateful for something until the end goal is in sight. But sometimes, really, you should be grateful that you're even getting to be in part of the journey and process and like making the memories or even just being alive today is something to be grateful for. And sometimes we kind of skip through those because we overall umbrella affect the term gratefulness and like, especially in the week of giving. But I really feel like the things, like you said, the bumps and bruises, or even the highs and lows, the things that you really enjoyed in the process, can get overshadowed by what you don't achieve. But to be grateful in the process and the little itty bitty things is what really makes gratefulness and appreciation as powerful as it is. And maybe it puts it in an even better perspective for you as you live your life in a more positive space, you know?
So, as a person with long-term recovery, I used to hear around the meetings that I'm a truly grateful recovering addict or alcoholic. When I first heard that, I didn't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I can be grateful for being in recovery. Well, recovery is healing, right? I'm grateful for the ability to heal after so much pain in my loss in my life, right?
Yeah.
That was the first time I heard that. I'm so grateful. I'm a grateful recovering, long-term recovering alcoholic or addicted person, right? How can you be grateful for all that, and as I have grown over 35 years of long-term recovery, it resonates with me so much that I get it now. And so I've been able to transcend that into every aspect of my life. Every bump, every bruise, every adversity, every loss in my life, I've been able to attach that to it. And it's given me, I thought that, along with obviously faith, is really key. I was talking about that this morning. Is your ability to have your strong faith allows you to understand and appreciate gratitude, and so that was a really good point that you made, because I can continue to talk about it all day long. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, we have a video for it as well that we can discuss once.
Yeah, this is really good. This is Steve Harvey. I think there's Steve Harvey, there's Les Brown, but I like Steve Harvey. It just talks to the importance of, this is, again, a month of gratitude. And it was one of the best motivational speeches that we kind of look for. There's Steve Harvey, and then there's Bill Osteen and Les Brown. But why don't you go ahead and play that, Faith?
Yeah, and we'll go through about like 5 minutes.
The one way to coach your mind from depression is with gratitude. Every time I feel myself not starting to feel some kind of way, just take a paper and pencil out. Just start writing down everything you have to be grateful for. Whatever it is. Your health, you can walk, you can still see, you have a car, may not be the one you want. I have a place to live. I ate today. I see a way that I can eat tomorrow. I got a friend that I can call and share my troubles with. And just be real detailed with it. You would be stunned how long you'll be writing. Now, let me tell you what happens. Gratitude erases all negativity, because there's no room now for negativity. It's not a magic trick. Joy and depression cannot reside in the same space. Those two things cannot exist at the same time. Also, what it does, it changes your focus from what you don't have to what you do have. Gratitude changes your perception. Your perception changes your existence. That's all you're trying to do. That's all you're trying to do. After you've done that, here's what I want you to do. Write a list after you make this list of everything you're grateful for. I want you to read this list every morning you wake up of everything you're grateful for. After you thank him for all this stuff, I want you to take another piece of paper. I want you to write on this piece of paper everything you want. Everything you want. Now what he gonna do is he gonna tie them two lists together. So now, since you're showing me all this gratitude for what I've already done for you, remember I said the more grateful you are, the more stuff he'll give you to be grateful for? He gonna take this other list you got, and he gonna start putting it on this side. Then he gonna take some more stuff and gonna put on this side. He'll take some more stuff and put on this side. I'm telling you. Let me tell y'all something. If y'all don't think that works, I wish you would try it. Listen to me. I have no other explanation for my life. I do it every single day. And you know what he does? Slowly but surely, he takes this list and he starts taking items and putting it on the grateful list. He has done it for me like that for years and years and years. He did it for me without education. He did it for me when I lost my mom and daddy, my brother, my best friend. He did it for me when they canceled my TV shows. He keep taking stuff off my want list and putting it on my grateful for list. If you do them things right there, you'll change your whole life.
Concentrate on what you have, you will always end up having more, even if it's just $2. If you focus on what you don't have, you will never, ever, ever have enough. So 16 years ago, I started a gratitude journal, and I will have to say, it was the single most important thing I believe I've ever done. So every day, for years now, I've written down 5 things to be grateful for. And you have to write them down. It's very different than just saying, oh, I'm grateful for today. You have to physically write them down because there's power in the words. Even simple things like fresh flowers or somebody holding the door open for me. So when you wake up in the morning and you consciously look for things to be thankful for, what happens is if you go through the day thinking about the 5 things that you're going to do in the evening, you are more alive and receptive to the goodness that comes in your life. Because sometimes it is as simple as somebody holding the door. So when you allow yourself to feel gratitude in the present moment, in the now, what I promise you is that the spiritual dimension of your life begins to change. It opens up, it expands, and you just grow with it. That is the truth. If I ever spoke the truth in my life, if you want to change your state of being, start to be grateful.
Okay, so the term gratitude journal. So there's one thing I want to say. This is what we were just talking about. Being grateful for the little things allows the bigger things to become accomplished. Because I think that there's a metaphor I heard someone say, like, you don't ride a bike or run looking down. Because when you do that, you have the opportunity to trip. But when you allow they said if you allow the footsteps to keep going and the sound, and you take it in wherever your environment, and you look at the trees passing you by, you're more likely to go further because you're no longer just looking in one space. So I think, or even just the accomplishment of I'm moving. So I think that gratitude goes along with it's something you build over time every single day in order for you to see a difference happen in your life. It's a tool in a way, but I think a lot of us would not it's not really presented as a tool. It's more presented as appreciation and gratefulness, but gratitude can be used as a tool to better your life in a positive direction.
Yeah, I like what Steve says. Your perception changes your existence. I thought that was pretty powerful, in the journal. Now, I wrote down, obviously, 3 things on my relationship with God, my family, my health, but there's so many more. Those are obviously things I'm grateful for. Is in my relationship with God, my family, and my health. And, as those three things for me has come with a long, bumpy path in some ways, but I continue to navigate my gratitude toward those as my family evolves, my relationship with God evolves as I get older. As I see guys my age, leaving, and I look at myself and I thank God for my youthfulness. I thank God for even with all the injuries that I have, but I continue to be grateful for those things. And I think the more we are showing gratitude, we continue to be rewarded for those things. What did he say? You put that on that list and then it goes on the other list, right? I'm going to put the $1.9 billion in the lottery. I'm going to put that on my list.
Yeah. We were talking about, that's what you should do, because when you do right things, it's the law of attraction. It's studied in all universe and psychology. It's the law of attraction. When you write something or you manifest it and you say it multiple times and you communicate it to the earth, eventually it'll come back to you.
Right. What do they say? You see it. If you see it, you believe it, you achieve it, right? Yeah, those are, it's so important,
Yeah.
I like how he kept mentioning that, I like this.
I found this because I felt like it aligned with what he was saying. Did you know that gratitude can shield you from negativity, can make you at least 25% happier? It'll rewire your brain, eliminate stress, it'll heal, improve sleep, boost self-esteem and performance. It enhances the law of attraction and improves relationships. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of those are mental health built, right? 6 really boosts self-esteem and performance. Enhances the law of attraction and improves relationship or outer achievements, right? Like the things you receive, the people you're around, that all becomes better. But it's interesting how it's really strongly rooted in your brain, right?
How you think, how your brain is rewired, I like that.
Yeah, it's all in your brain. And it's funny how much strength your mind has over your life. And people have no idea. It's very easy to think that the outer factors impact who I become as a person in today's society.
Yeah.
You have a lot more control mentally than you think you do.
Right. And then also, we talk about this kind of pivoting, but how the people we have in our lives impact that. And how if they aren't contributing to that positive growth, if they're not nurturing, the things that are positive in our life, then we choose to, because that's all part of it, right? Who we have in our life, who we have in that space that supports and nurtures that gratitude, right? If there's people always complaining, we have a society right now. What's going on in our world right now is so negative, right? Everything across the board is just so negative. We can look at the news, we can watch anything and just see how negative things are. And it just plays with us. And that's why if we continue to focus on our faith and continue to focus on gratitude, it just gives us a whole nother reprieve. I always say this, I get a daily reprieve on my spiritual condition each day. And that's all about my faith and my gratitude. Yeah.
Hold on. I found another chart in the back. The 5 different directions, the benefits of gratitude all point back to happiness. So the benefits of emotional well-being, social well-being, career, health, and personality, right? That's something, and the personality bubble, you just talked about it. More spiritual and increased self-esteem. And when they say less materialistic, Oprah said that in the video we shared, is that when you're always worried about what you don't have, you're always thinking you need more. But when you're comfortable with what you have, if you're happy with what you have, you don't even realize that you need more. Less self-centered. I think that one's kind of funny. More optimistic, increased self-esteem, more spiritual, and then your health. Like we said, the improved sleep. You're less sick. You have a longevity towards your life, an increased level of energy. You have more exercise because you're just thankful that you're here on earth. You have the career, you have better management, improved networking, goal achievement, improves decision-making, increased productivity. I think those go hand in hand with your social skills because you're more willing to step outside of your box and meet more people because you're coming from a healthy, rested, happy space. Like it's easy for people to go meet new friends when they're happy. It's when they're unhappy that they struggle to meet friends. They slip into depressions. They struggle overall with their self-esteem. So gratitude really motivates everything that pushes forward in a positive light. We keep saying that because the positivity really does run your life. Like you get to choose what you do and don't do today mentally. And I think it was a good point. Like when you have something to look forward to later in the day, your day is so much more fun. right? But when you don't have anything to look forward to in the day, it's so easy to just let the day pass by. And I read something the other day. They were like, literally, this could be the last time you watch TV. This could be the last time you drive. This could be the last time you go shopping. Like all of those opportunities to be your last time, that perspective changes how you live your life.
Wow.
Because you're not just grateful, you're grateful for the time you have, and you realize that the time you have is never promised.
Oh, that was eye-opening there. You're so right. You know, that's why you live one day at a time. But
100%. I think when it comes to gratitude, I think it's easy for us to use it as like a Hallmark card, thank yous, but it really does go down to your mental well-being and like what you use daily in your toolbox that we talk about all the time to motivate you to the next day and to the next opportunity and to the next relationships and the next conversations. And
put that graph back up as you talking. Yeah.
And it's easy for us to lose sight of that.
Right. Even the emotional, be it if it's the more good thing, the more relaxed, the more resilient, less envious, happier memories, right? I mean, that's huge right there, I'm really happy you brought that up. Okay.
Yep. It all flows to one space, yeah.
Okay.
It all flows to one space. But I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think we've overextended the conversation of gratitude, but I think it's because we all understand that gratitude comes down to the idea that it's all mental and you have to make the choice to continue. And every day is full of choices. You have to make the choice to be grateful for what you have, grateful for what you don't have, grateful for the opportunities that you've missed out on. And it all really does go down to the fact that, because you can say you're grateful, but like, you have to really apply the feeling of gratefulness and really check into the space you're supposed to be in order for it to actually work. Because like you could say like, well, I am grateful for the life that whatever, like the adversity I've been through. And then the next adversity comes and you're like, why is this happening to me? And it's like you haven't picked up the habits yet, right? It's okay to feel frustrated, but it's not okay to not apply the things you've learned in the life process, to understand that whatever's happening now is for a reason, and that reason I'll figure out eventually.
Right.
So yeah.
Sharing that. So as we continue Thanksgiving coming up, what about this year Thanksgiving are you looking forward to?
I think what I look forward to most for Thanksgiving, well, I cook now, so so I enjoyed that because I think that's a cool thing. But I think really what things like now in today's, what's funny is that a lot of people aren't celebrating Thanksgiving anymore because of the cultural background of the idea of Thanksgiving. But I think that it's funny that Thanksgiving, we can just toss the whole idea away. I really don't care about the pilgrims. I think the idea of what Thanksgiving should be about is that giving thanks for what we have in today's society. Yeah. And then celebrating one another. I think that's important, especially in today's society when there's so unrest. I mean, tomorrow the voting begins, politics are all over the place, there's socioeconomic difference. I mean, it's across the board cuckoo out here, right? So I think that for me, Thanksgiving comes down to the time where you to really sit down with people who believe in the things you believe in, who have similarities, who love you. And that to me is what Thanksgiving should be all about, is surrounding yourself with people that will help you grow, become a better person every day of your life, and you celebrate them that day.
Right. Well, I think that's something that I'm grateful for, is that I know that the people in my life, I can feel comfortable on that day, that those things will exist, that these are the people that love and worship the way I work and believe the way I believe. But just so you know, there's going to be families that's not the case. I'm just grateful that doesn't exist in our family. It's
not easy. I mean, let's talk about, like, we've had this conversation before, but the civil unrest within our country ever since the 2017 or 2018, 2016, one of those two elections those were 4 years of a blur, right?
Right.
A lot of families decided, and a lot of younger generations in particular, we saw the younger generation choose, well, I no longer feel like going Thanksgiving because I don't want to go sit with those people because I don't want to have to explain myself. I don't want to have to advocate for people. I don't want to have to explain why this is right and this is logical and this is wrong. I understand that completely. So I think that one thing also I've seen is that the Friendsgiving has become so important in the years following COVID and the pandemic when travel was so hard and, people didn't really feel like their family were their friends anymore. I think that we've seen a boost in Friendsgivings with neighbors and coworkers and more than we ever have before, stepping away from the structured family Thanksgiving.
Right.
Style.
Friends, like family don't necessarily have to be blood. Family could be people that you're close to, your friends that you have a true relationship to, right?
100%. And I think that's the best ones. That's the best. Because we really did see that pandemic changed the perspective on everything. 2020 altered how we do things culturally. We're having more aggressive conversations about the history of Thanksgiving, more than we ever have before, right? We're having more conversations about what's the point of hopping on a plane and flying home, which is a mandatory thing in the years past. But now it's more along the lines of I'd rather get together with my friends and we all have Thanksgiving. We bring food over like a potluck and we have a Thanksgiving dinner in our apartments, right? So it's a different experience.
Well,
and I think that too.
Yeah, you experienced something. We both experienced something in college, when you spend most of your Thanksgiving for 4 or 5 years with your teammates.
Yeah. Yeah, it was disappointing Thanksgivings. Yeah, those were bad. Don't give me food, but I think
you're talking relative to this food.
You learn that because sometimes tradition can be suffocating sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
There's benefits in tradition and upholding them. And then there's benefits in like stepping outside of tradition as well every other time to make sure you realize like I have the flexibility to do more with my life, to make my own traditions, to make my own memories, to make my own friends and family. And I think that's very important on a person's overall development, overall understanding, but also appreciation for the holiday that the month of November brings. Is to just be grateful for that you have a place to go or the ability to cook or the ability to have food, right? All of those things. It was originally, I think Thanksgiving can be lost in the fact that it can get lost, right? So I think that when you have the flexibility to do different Thanksgivings and do different traditions, you have an overall better understanding of what maybe you want to do with your family in the future and going forward. So
right.
That's definitely an eye-opening process when you're an athlete and you don't do Thanksgiving.
Right.
Who does it every year?
So our menu is Popeye's Cajun turkey.
Okay.
That's my
sweet potato pies.
What?
Your sweet potato pies.
My sweet potato pies, which is there's a very special list that gets those sweet potato pies, and it's very small, but those are hard to get, right?
Anyways, yes, that's all he's making.
Wait, and then what else? I gotta bring the honey baked ham because you always want honey baked ham, no matter what, right?
Yeah, you got to do the honey baked ham.
Okay, honey baked ham. Devin is who's doing the mac and cheese? You guys are fighting over that?
No, it's done. I'm doing them. Devin used Gouda. I use sharp cheddar. It's a very distinct difference in taste.
Okay.
But I'm cooking. I'll cook 2 pans.
Okay.
And we'll do mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, green beans, rolls.
Gotta have those rolls. Because Mom used to burn them.
Now we probably will have Cornish hens, and we'll probably have just everything. Oh, candied yams with marshmallows.
Yeah. Well, did we never put marshmallows on our candy yams, did we?
No, that's what happens now.
Wow, that's been added?
That's how I made them last year. It's a particular way people like them. So they're
Oh, I wonder who that is. Okay, I got you.
look. And
Wow.
I'm probably gonna throw something on Devin's plate too, but because he needs to learn how to cook.
The one thing we are going to have is Brussels sprouts.
No, but I'll tell you this: there are some really good restaurants with Brussels sprouts where they candy them and they add a whole bunch of sugar, but then they're no longer Brussels sprouts. But then they're tasty. It's when you steam them and then just drop them on a plate that you lose people.
Well, what are we doing about stuffing?
No one eats it.
Oh, but if it's good, we'll eat it, right? So
No one eats it. No one eats it. No one eats dressing. No one eats stuffing. No one, like, what do you eat? Like, it always sits in the pan. People take one small scoop, they nibble at it, and then they move it to the side and they finish the rest of their plate.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
So did we miss anything? So I'm still looking for mommy's apple pie recipe. Right? It's in here somewhere.
Why?
If I find that, would you try to make that?
Yeah, it's a Dutch apple pie. It's not hard. There's recipes on the internet.
Okay.
But I'm just hoping you can actually do your job and find the recipe. That'd be helpful.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What you got to do these days? Sweet potato pies and bring a ham and turkey. The little turkey, you don't have to cook it long.
Just so our viewers know that Popeye's Cajun turkey, already pre-cooked, is the best.
Because look, let's be real. Who has time to have to cook the turkey all day? That's, in my opinion, if you have a double oven, it makes things really hard.
Right.
It does. It makes things really hard. So, yeah, no, it's a process, but we will have a good time. Maybe we can talk about the historical backing of a lot of Thanksgiving foods or something the next couple weeks. But, or maybe we could have a small competition on what the best Thanksgiving foods are. But I definitely think that nowadays Thanksgiving is no longer just a family thing. It's a overall find the food thing with the people you like, and I think that's a good direction for the holiday.
So as our family gets bigger, the only thing I see that's been added is the marshmallows on those candy yams.
Well, here's the thing: we don't even really make sweet potatoes like that. Like,
Oh,
we like, I don't remember. We would see, and then we ate sweet potatoes too much as a family. So when Thanksgiving came, we already had them 6 times that year.
right.
But I don't know. I don't mind it. They always have marshmallows on it at Verley's house, so I know Devin don't mind it. So whatever.
Okay.
Just nod and wave, boys. Nod and wave.
Awesome. Great show, Faith.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today on Faith Family Focus. Once again, it's our goal to help strengthen and sustain the family core through stories of adversity, and of course, our slogan:
Let go, let God. Let go, let faith. And let go, let love.
Everyone have a wonderful Monday. We'll see you soon.